Hello, welcome to March SFDUG Meetup 2023 Viewsapalooza. Tonight, members are going to be sharing things that they like and know about the Views module in Drupal, and it will be an informal presentation of presentations. And with that, let's see, Dana, if you'd like to start with your presentation, that'd be great.
Oh boy. All right. I believe my topic is successes and frustrations with complex relationships, views and views, and queries in general. I'll state a little bit of background. I'm happy to do some screen sharing too. I work at UCSF. We have many customers around the university who have the need to present complex information. The web framework, we have a shared web framework that most of those customers are using. We do have some custom stuff as well, but for the most part, they're all using a shared multi-site distributable website package, which means doing things like custom twig is not available, which means the entire sort of display for when we're doing customizations, at least that my team is performing, needs to be done in views. So there are some limitations to what we can do, which means we have to really ramp our views skills and capabilities to be able to deliver some of these capabilities to clients. The reason I want to bring this topic up is I'm actually really, as we're speccing the new version of this platform, what I'm interested in is, more new capabilities or things that are coming in the views pipeline, or perhaps replacement for views that are either A, more usable by site builders, be potentially usable by end user customers, although I care a little bit less about that personally. And then also just that things that make life easier. So to facilitate that, I'm just going to share a couple of things that I've worked on that might make brains explode, and then we'll go from there. So I'll share screen. And let me know when you guys can, oh, let's try that again. I got host disabled participant screen sharing message. You're muted.
It's weird because I actually did right before right when I stopped talking, I enabled it. Let me try it again. It's just so strange. Oh, I disabled it. Okay, now try.
All right. There we go. You guys can see my screen, I hope. Cool. All right. So I'm starting off with like the success case of this example. In this case, we're working for our infection control department at UCSF, and they have these things called isolation tables. I am not a doctor or medical person in any way whatsoever. I'm a web person, so I won't state what this stuff is for properly. But the intention is that, as I understand it, nurses or doctors in the field who are processing, they're trying to understand how they diagnose and do specific isolations of this matter, look up this table, basically based on, what is it, the thing that they're studying, what is some specific conditions around that, and then what isolations are recommended for each of those. And in the past, this was managed via a PDF that was on a website, and PDFs aren't accessible, difficult to update, old versions would stay up. It's difficult to replace documents in Drupal without having, some people still have access to the old document if they have the link is updating. There's a whole bunch of problems with that. So we wanted to give them an HTML presentation. Actually, they initiated their own HTML presentation and quickly ran into the problem, like this was going to be untenable for them to manage given the complexity of the data. The interesting thing here is this is several one-to-many relationships. For each one of these conditions, I guess, or that's not the right word. There's a word for this. I can't remember what they are. By bacterias or whatever they are. For each one of these, there can be n number of conditions. So we have a paragraphs entity relationship for that. So basically, they can go ahead and manage that content on their end, but then there can be n number of isolations for each one of these conditions. So we wanted to give them something that they'd be able to maintain and that user would be able to hear to search. So the way we did that is a really kind of complicated set of views. So fundamentally, it's just a page, and we're doing a little bit of contextual filters and some relationships. The thing that I wanted to bring up, though, that really kind of makes this sing is that we're doing views and views. So there's a module you can enable called Global View, and I can't remember, I think that's the name of it. And basically it allows you to, as a field, reference another view, and then you can pass parameters to that. If I click on this here, so you can basically set a parameter that you want to be fed into the contextual filter of another field. The reason that we had to do that is there was no ability to really present what we wanted to have happen when someone clicked on contact or standard in any other way. We wanted these to without avoiding duplicates or other problems with display. Like there was another set of controls for that the customer has for being able to update what these contacts and standards are. So this went over like gangbusters, although I'll say a couple things about it and to kind of spur the conversation. One, these are really difficult views to reverse engineer when someone has to come in and work on them due to the complexity and understanding that these parameters are being passed. There's not the interface for views is not very intuitive, and that's one area where I'm definitely interested. And granted, this is on Drupal 7, and I know that there are some enhancements to that in Drupal 9. But I'm always interested in kind of like ways that this can be made a little bit more intuitive for people to understand where the relationships are being passed. The second thing is, and this is actually, I know an enhancement in Drupal 8 forward, is the relationships to paragraph items, because actually paragraphs is actually the easier case, but things like web forms are really problematic in views because they're not entities. I know that's solved in D8 forward, but again, I don't get to work on that. I will next year as much. So without going into like the gross details of how we set this up, which I think would take a lot more than 5 minutes and be really boring, the idea is that sometimes at UCSF we have these really complicated view structures that come up, and they're fine. We're usually able to get the job done. The problem is when the customer requires a change and we come back a year later, and maybe it's not the same person working on it. It can take a day just to figure out what this thing is doing and how it works. The frustration example of this is one that I'm working on now for Family Health Outcomes Project. I'll try and keep it brief just to stay under time. They basically have a list of all these indicators. These are data indicators from studies that are done across the state. And for every single county, they have the same indicators, and each of these reference a file. And the way they were doing it in the past is they had to go into the site, and then they had to update 32 counties, all the files related to each of those county lines. And it would take an admin, something like 20 hours a week ongoing for around 6 months at a time just to do all that work. So we came up with a system, and you can ignore this. This is stuff I'm using to debug because I'm trying to solve the problem in here. But what they wanted to do is, so for every single county, these indicators running down the list, like the fundamental text is always the same. However, there's a couple things that change. The specific resource is different for each county. And then for each one of these 1A, 1B, what you're not seeing, because that's the problem I'm trying to solve, is there's related indicators. So for item 1B, this paragraph MID, there might be 2 other reference indicators that have specific file references. So the way we solve this is that we have a content type referencing a paragraph entity that's referencing another paragraph entity that is, and then there's also some other content type reference in there. Again, I don't want to step into the gross details of it because we don't have enough time, but suffice it to say, this is a very complicated data structure that's required based on what we need to do for the customer. And again, when you kind of go into the view, oops, didn't mean to do that, but it doesn't really matter. The way that we're kind of facilitating, this one's a little bit different in that almost everything's being performed by the views attachment. Too long to kind of step through the logic of that, but this is just a giant list of all these paragraph items. And the nice thing is that with the contextual filter, this will show up with the appropriate data on each county and all that's working. Where it gets really tricky is we're doing the same thing here for the related indicators. If I go to the attachment display, And you can see there's a lot of relationships going on and a contextual filter that's really messy. Again, we're passing a parameter, not this one, sorry. We're passing a parameter into yet another view that handles the related indicators display. And again, I think views works great when you just kind of you're getting all your data and you're smashing it onto the page, and maybe there's one relationship or maybe two. But when you have references within references within references, it's really easy to lose sort of conceptually where you are pulling the information from. And so anyways, so 2 points there. One, we do weird, interesting, complicated views at UCSF, and if people are doing really weird, complicated, typically tabular displays of data, we're happy to, maybe take some time to help you out. But also we're definitely interested in other use cases of people doing that. And then two, if people have any sort of suggestions, recommendations for modules, because we can add modules into our kit, it just has to be evaluated against the entire set of other modules in our 1200 site display, then, that stuff I'd definitely be interested in. So I hope that's clear. I'll be quiet for now.
Oh, that was awesome, Dana. That was great. And I don't want you guys to feel rushed, because actually, let me look at the board, but we don't have that many speakers. So if you wanted to spend some more time, or maybe we'll come back to you if you want to talk some more. Or
sure, I'm happy to go in more details. I don't
want to. Or do we want to do questions and answers while what he just says is fresh in our mind? Did anyone have any questions for Dana? I guess my big question is that global view module, is that available for D8, D9? I'm just gonna go look.
That I don't know. It might be called, it might be called View Field. Let me figure that out for you.
I don't know why, but I can never remember module names. I'm always like, and the people who work with me are like used to me saying, that module that does the thing. And amazingly, the people who work with me kind of know what I mean. Is it Views Field View? It's
Views Field View. That's what it is. Yeah. And I will note I just looked it up. We usually try to keep it fairly simple on our config, but Views Field View is really popular. Views data export is really critical, because a lot of cases our customers don't want to go through Drupal data entry. They want to hand over a sheet and have it loaded. So to facilitate that, we'll structure the view, export, the structure as an Excel file, hand it to them, do some logic in there so they can't screw it up, and then have that come back, and then we load that using feeds into the site. That's one of the standard things we do when we have really complicated or when we have a lot of data to be loaded, because we don't want to be asking some admin to do data entry for 1,200 items. That's one of my favorite modules. It's not sexy, but it does the job at the data export, and it's really great. And for anyone not familiar with Views data export, it allows you to export your views as like CSV data or XML or various formats, and so it's really cool. And you can bring that data into a spreadsheet. Tara, sorry if I mispronounced her name. She noted that we stuck a view into the view header. Yeah, we had to do that. So what you're really looking at when you land on a county page is there's really nothing there. It's just an empty shell of a term page, and the views is doing all the logic to pull in the specific county specific data onto that page, so that every county page is the same, right? We have one view, it controls every single county page consistently. The one thing I didn't mention that I should probably note from kind of what we're trying to achieve here, the file references are now all being managed in Box, and this is something we really do. We have a enterprise Box account at UCSF, and if you've worked with files and the problems of when you need to do a file update, and some people are seeing the old file and some people are seeing the new file, and that being a problem, well, you can imagine how much more urgent that is at a medical, a healthcare institution. So the nice thing about doing these box links is that Drupal's not caching anything. We're not using the Drupal file server. It's all being served out of Box. So that gives us two awesome benefits. One, when they need to update all their PDFs or Excel files or whatever it is, they just drag them into the Box folder, and boom, all the links stay persistent. We have that URL referenced in the node ID. Everything just kind of updates. So they never actually have to log into the site and update anything. The only thing they have to log in to do is if they're adding a new indicator, or they're changing sort of like the related indicators or a file reference or something like that. So it's taken the admin time from like impossible down to something that they really don't even have to worry about anymore. And then that frees up their resource to actually do more mission critical stuff, like work with the counties to get all this data, which they should be doing, not managing a website.
Right. Wow, that's really cool. That did make my head explode. View within a view. All right. Ujwal, you're up next. And Ujwal is going to talk about a bunch of very useful modules. Oh, good. Better exposed filters. Another one of my favorites. Take it away.
Yes. So here I'm going to start my sharing my screen first. Just a second here. Can you see my screen, guys? Okay. So as you can see in the retro board, I have mentioned that I'm explaining about three major modules which I recently used. The first one is the views custom module. Basically, whenever we are creating any custom module or any custom table in from the our like customization on the Drupal database, and when we want to like you can say when we want to show the data, just like I can take an example here as in for admin or like a content editor, they want to see something data very easy and quickly to build the view for admin. Is for admin we can use the module views custom table modules. Just a second. So here you can see in my database, I am going to create a new table. Just a second. Before that, I'll show you that I already created one table that is a custom table. And in the custom table, I have created 3 fields, which is not directly associated with the any Drupal entity directly. So here's ID, UID, and data. This is for demo purpose. So I created a view for this. I enable the module. The module name is custom. Just a second. Views custom table. And after enabling, you will find out the 3 links on the link of configure. When you click on the configuration, all the custom table, first of all, you have to come here and just configure it as I did demo underscore custom table. This is a table name of the table name of in a Drupal database. I just you can see in the whenever you are going to create a configuration of a custom table, just select the database and table name, and the next section is the entity reference. If you want to configure any other entity with your custom table, you can just define with that one. And after that, go into the views. You can find out here, you can come and just click add new view, and here you will see your table will come here just like demo custom table data, just like that. And so I already created the view for demo purpose. So here is the view. I go here, and here you can see when I click on the add, I can see all the fields which is already in my custom table, like ID, UID, data. These all are coming from tables. So it's very easy. You can just select and add to the fields, and it shows to you. Just like ID, UID, super admin. So I can show you here the data here in new item, just UID 1. And see, you can see the another entry. The another module I'm going to discuss the better expose filter before move to the another module. Do you have any questions so far?
No, but that is so cool. I didn't know about that module, and I actually have a need for that. So that like is perfect. Thank you. So cool.
Thank you. The next module I'm going to represent is the better expose module. Better expose module is basically used for provide expose form better, you can say, functionality. By this, just a second, from this we can, by default we are not able to in the basic, I'm just going to say apply. So in the basic, you can see we can just only, we have a limited options to override and extend the functionality of a filter search. So, and for better search, they are giving a more functionality for that. So I go here and then going and here we can add the include button, enable auto submit. Sometimes we need this one, input required, and sorry, expose sort setting. Right now I haven't added any sorting on my page, so that's why it's not coming, otherwise it's coming here. So far, the last module is the views conditional module. Basically, views conditional module is used to show data based on the conditions. So I have also integrated this. So for adding this functionality, you need to enable the module views conditional, and whenever you add that, it gives an option here, views conditional, and you can add a field here. So I already added, it's like, so in the conditional field, there is a condition if the ID and the value is equal to, or there are a lot of parameters is coming. If matches the value, it shows this one, otherwise the another one. I can say here the value is 1. If value is 1, then that's authenticated user. So actually it matches to the ID. I match the ID. If ID is 1, then super admin. If ID is not 1, then it shows authenticated user. So it will helpful sometimes when we need to show our data in condition basis, we can use that. So this is the sections I have. These are the demo for the contributed modules. Now I am going to jump on the next section, that is a custom module. By this custom module, you can override the style. These are the styles. By these are the styles we can override. And right now I can show you the code. Is the custom module. So for creating any kind of custom style in views, you need to create a custom module, and the custom module, there is a plugin, and under the plugin folder you created a views folder, then style, and under that there is a folder. There is a file name. I created a JSON API because there is a need in my project that I need to club all the data is group files. So I created this file. So here you can see this is the annotation, and by this annotations, views identify the views style plugins. So I will enable it. This module right now it's not enabled. Just a second. So I enable the module, jump back to the custom demo, and here I click on the table. Sorry, I think there is might be. The module name, module could be serialized. Content. So here is the name of the serialized group I created from the, so you can see serialized group here. This is the module. Want to see? And by this module, I am just grouping whatever is coming in the rendering. I'm just grouping this into the grouping field. That's it, based on the title. So here is from this code, you can provide like override the serialization based on your requirement. So that's it. Is there any question?
Yeah, Ujjwal, can you share the code? Share the code of the module. I could not find it.
Can you please repeat, Nitish?
Can you show the code of the module once?
Yeah. Do you want this one? I can share with you that.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you.
So this was a custom module you wrote, or this is a contributed module?
No, it's a custom module I wrote,
I
and
see.
yeah.
Let me see.
And so the requirement of this is like we need like you can say, as in we have a one category, suppose it's industry, and in the industry there are a lot of content. So, and you can say as a, I have to expose this as an endpoint where the all data in serialized form with grouping.
I see.
So default serializer is not providing to you this functionality that you can combine all data together.
I see. So in your code, do you extend the existing class, I guess, and then you alter it to your needs, basically, or?
Yes. So what I did, I just used the views plugins extended functionality, and by that, by this annotation, you can identify your style, like here, and provide the JSON format, and whenever the views provide their data to display as in serialized format, it comes here after, or you can say hook is called after before rendering to the web, and we can alter the data here. Just
Cool. Very cool. Neat. All right, let me see what is up next. Thank you so much. That was really interesting. And I'm just gonna keep track of God. Okay, so up next is Views Ecosystem, Views Exposed Filter Summary module. And that's the person is Close Cold Script. Who are you?
Sorry, script, that's me. I know
Okay,
I put in the card. That I know.
very good.
That's how much I know. So why does it say script? Huh, interesting. Okay. So should I go ahead and present, or what's the?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right, let me open correct screen. This one, I think. So I put the link in the chat. Maybe I should put it here. Views have huge ecosystem, and there's lots of modules that extend views, both in Drupal 7 backdrop and I don't know whether to call it Drupal with Composer, Drupal X, Drupal Sharp. There's so many interesting names for modern Drupal. So couple of things that I wanted to contribute to views discussion. Sometimes the very small things make a huge difference. Like, for example, one of the things that I usually extend for administration purposes, we have this manage content tab where I can, which is a view, where I can make my life as a content editor person much better. And there's a couple of things that I usually do on almost any site that I manage that has more than 3 content types. I usually have sub-tab for each of the content type that I manage that extend with content-specific views. And as I build the views, and this is a site that we just launched yesterday, it was very interesting, actually today. There's a couple of small things that are always add. I always add numbers, which is views counter, which makes my life much easier because I know when I'm talking to something, okay, this is item number 48 on this list. This is out of the box. I didn't add it yet. So in the header, there's a couple of preset things that allow me to add additional summary, one of which is called result summary. This is extremely useful things for when we're doing all kind of filtering, because now I can go here and say, okay, there's 124 sessions altogether. And if I want to add some filters, I'm gonna say, okay, I also want to track, and filters are second most powerful thing in views, that I'm gonna say, okay, I want to see tracks for my site, and I'm adding them on the fly. And I know if everyone here is 100% familiar with these things, but sometimes small things make a big difference. And we do expose filters. And we say allow multiple selections if we want to. We can also limit to selected items, which we sometimes use a lot. And here we go. Now, after I've added this exposed filter, I can very, very quickly see how many sessions I have with content strategy. And let's say I want to see sessions for a particular year, for a particular time slot. I extend it for my convenience very quickly, as well as I can set number of items per page, which I don't know if everyone is familiar with, because sometimes I see that things that seems very basic to me are not known everywhere. One thing that I really like about today's session is that we see sites in all flavors of Drupal. We've seen Drupal 7, we've seen new Drupal 10 with Clara theme. This is Backdrop, and all of them work like a charm because they're all big Drupal family, where views was one of the reasons for such huge success of Drupal altogether. So one thing that I wanted to show today is, and it's interesting, it's a huge power of open source. On one of our older sites, it's Drupal 7. One thing that happens when I build views, I can add here, when I'm adding things in the header, I can say result summary. And I wanted to see, in addition, just to the, like when I'm doing exposed filters, I can see that this URL is using content type session and content strategy, but I don't have indicator here that will tell me that. So unless I'm using, it was a long time ago, so it was in 2014, and the only option at that time was to have faceted search, where search is not actually, where we're moving away from use and moving towards search API that provided this capability to add or remove the information of which filters we're using. Currently, I only use it on the one site that I can demo online because it has a lot of proprietary information. But so we built this module a long time ago. It's available, if you install it, it's available in the header. And then Etten Group ported it to Drupal 9 and 10. And I'm very excited to see a lot of people participating and also more downloads. This allows you to stay on Drupal type filters, but have this indicators that are similar to what you get with search APIs and faceted search. So this is my contribution for my favorite Drupal module. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Irina. That's a great one. I was not aware of that one either. Wow. We should do this every month. Fantastic. Any questions about that? That's really cool. And it can do any of your exposed filters. Are there any types you run into that like it doesn't play with yet? Like it'll do dates, okay? Date filters, okay?
Yes, it does dates. It does lots of different things. It does dates. It does taxonomy. I think it does entity references. And we just had somebody just submitted the patch to make it. There was some issue with formatting. They submitted the patch.
Wow.
Active community participation is very exciting, especially considering the fact that we did this module a long time ago, and we didn't have any bandwidth to port it to 8 or 9, and then community stepped up. So to the power of open source.
Wow, that's great. Wow, well done. All right, up next is someone is going to speak on full calendar view. Not sure who that is. Come forward. Show yourselves. There we are. Hi, Tara.
So I tend 2 different groups. I tend like Seattle and also like Fox Valley. So I'm trying to remember if I shared this one with San Francisco or not.
Not in my memory.
Okay.
A couple years, I think not. Anyway, it's a whole new crowd anyway.
So this has probably become my favorite calendar used for Drupal 9. Hopefully they'll keep on updating it for 10. I think they're heading toward that. So anyway, I'll go ahead and find the page to pull up. Oh yeah, and once again, they like the card like assigns you a funny name.
Those are funny. And also, if anyone has been inspired by these to add your own topic, feel free, the board's open. We've got time. Or questions, like seriously. I mean, I'm not saying that definitely someone will have an answer to your stumper, but we've got a pretty good group here. We might. Well, Tara's working. Oh, okay, you got it. Okay, good.
So this is the page on Drupal.org. So in the past they had something that was they already had built-in recurring events. So now they switched over to our rule.js for determining recurring events, which I would say that it's been interesting using it. Recently I was having some issue where it was like trying to put in the current time and not the time that I wanted, that I was trying to schedule an event for, but it's been an interesting journey. But you can get the recurring event field still if you do want that functionality. So pretty basic. They have like start and end dates. Your example, this is why I like it, because they have a lot of, you can have different colors to distinguish different types of events and bundles, as well as have kind of a little bit of a short description. They also have the ability, I'll show you an example that I have from my website, where you can actually click on an event and look at actually a little bubble of information. I just got to switch over to my work computer. Okay, so go back to, sorry. I guess I didn't switch. I did not switch. It gets confusing because I'm having to do a remote connection to my remote my work computer in order to look at the website. Anyway. Okay, so for the count, so for instance, it's one of the calendars. Okay. So it's having kind of a weird error that I'm having to fix right now, where it's like trying to put down the current time rather than that it was posted. But you can go and click on these separately. And they're supposed to be correct. You can also go ahead and set functionality for like month, week, day, list. For instance, you can list. Yeah, which is kind of handy when you're like, okay, I just want to see what's going on for this month or this week. And I'm trying to figure out if this Perker calendar, sorry. If I have it set up to do a pop-up, looks like I don't. I might have to actually go into the calendar to show that. Okay, so I go in edit mode. So you can set, you have to, one of the I guess one of the downsides of the Spricker one is that you can only set 2 different dates. So for instance, you can create a date field for your start date and date, but you can only do like one at a time. So you might have to do different views if you want to use different date fields. But this is part of why this is kind of a cool setup, because you also have all these toggles. You can set up different toggles, buttons. You can set a default view. I had it on month. If you want to do Sunday or Monday. Start time for the day. And then what I was trying to show was the pop-up. You can have allow event editing on it, and you can also have, it should be a way to have a pop-up. Pop-up dialog. Okay, not
The dialogue window when you're near it. You see the event showing.
yeah.
Is it that one?
Yeah, no, this one is will pop
If we keep going
confirmation
underneath, see show event description and dialogue window. Is that the one underneath allow client? Yeah, is that
I
one?
think this might be it.
Maybe. I haven't heard the term dialogue window. No. I think we call them modals nowadays, right?
Let me see if I can do it here, but to go back to the calendar. So anyway, if it was set up, it would have had a little pop-up that would show. Here, there. But because it's not set up fully, I'm just doing it for demo purposes. That's why it's just showing the recurring event field.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool though. Yeah. Neat.
Go back to edit and show the kind of the recurring event stuff.
Now, Tara, are you using just the core date field, or are you using smart dates date field?
Let me check then.
My understanding is that you can use either now with full calendar.
You can. I'll just show you the recurring event thing really quick and then
Okay, cool.
so yeah, you can also set typical legend color for different event categories and taxonomies. That's how they'll distinguish which one had which color. So like I had one for movies, sports, for bundle types. And then this was the recurring event. And basically you have to make a little like a little paragraph or something that has the recurring dates release insert. And then we'll usually pick a duration field. I had it as recurring dates before. Thought I had it set before, but anyway, I will go and remove it just so, because this is my main website, so I'll go ahead and remove the info about. I'll go ahead and go to my extend to see if I had the smart tape set up. But yeah, I think you can do smart tape.
Well, it's great that it supports repeating dates, because I looked at a number like maybe 5 years ago, and at that time it didn't really support repeating dates. So that's really good to hear that that's working now.
Okay. I don't think I have it. It doesn't look like smart dates.
Okay. Yeah.
Or I'm not sure.
Because we kind of, in the last year, we've kind of moved from using the core date to the smart date field more and more. But it's interesting because they both kind of seem to get better over time about repeating dates. So I don't have a sense of what the best combination is for repeating dates still, but this gives me hope that there may be some more options than the last time I looked. So thank you. That was wonderful. Any questions about that? About full calendar?
I
Oh.
have one question only. That did you try for the time zone related thing, like when we open, like if I open, so it shows based on my time, or how? Did you get any chance on that one? Look at into that one, or?
Yeah, you can either set that in the view itself, or I think when you're setting up your content type of your date, when you're setting the date field.
Okay.
Very cool.
And is this a full calendar view provide the support with the download and import to the Outlook or other? I mean,
Oh, can you have it connect with Soundboard or Outlook? I don't think so. There are like some Google like embed modules that you can, like, for instance, connect with your Google account. I don't know about Soundboard or Outlook though.
I
But yeah,
believe,
this is different.
I believe we did, it depends on how you're setting it up, but I believe we did an add to cal on the node for that's giving the items to the calendar. And so if they click through and they're getting to the event, then you have all your standard add to cal stuff. But yeah, and I was just going to say, this is a request that comes up a lot at UCSF to do these types of calendars views. And then we don't have add to cal in our T7 distribution. And I'm like, well, why are we doing calendar view? Yeah, it's really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Terry, you mentioned you also had another example of views inside of views if we were interested.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can pull it up or not. I guess in the meantime,
Do you want me to
trying
do
to figure
mine?
out what Rolfer was saying. Are you able to update the name by clicking or is that to me? On the chat?
Oh,
I don't think so.
It was in general to the group
Okay.
when the topic came to the names, and just wanted to mention where to change them. It's not
Oh, okay.
directly apparent.
Oh, in
Okay,
Zoom.
Okay, if we didn't want to have a weird name on the
Yeah.
Oh,
first,
in the
okay.
thing. Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. Oh.
It's for
Oh.
board retro. Sorry.
Oh,
Wasn't
no, good to
apparent.
know. Oh, and where do you
Just
change
under
it?
hello.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, good to know for future. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I'll go see if I can access this Fricker site or not. I guess in the meantime, whatever else.
Oh yeah, maybe I'll do mine real fast if that's cool. I'm gonna talk really quickly just about one module. I'll go ahead and share. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about away. Yeah, so it's just a little module, and I use this on almost every site I build. The entity reference exposed filters. So the use case for this is, I create a lot of views, probably like the rest of you, that have a listing of things and then have some exposed filters. And, often my designers, they really like checkboxes for whatever reason. And so I often use better exposed filters to, create the view, create the exposed filters, make them checkboxes. And that works great when the filters are taxonomy terms on the node. And it's a view of nodes for this. And so what doesn't work out of the box, though, is what if on your node you have maybe some taxonomy reference fields, but you also have some node reference fields. And so like I'm working on a site that has like these nodes that can have related studies, and those are not a vocabulary of terms, but studies are a content type. And so that works well in my node, but when I go to build the view, if I want to have a bunch of exposed filters, and some of them are taxonomy terms, but maybe I have one for studies that's based on this node entity reference field, there's not really an easy way in just out of the box to do that. So that's where this module comes in. And so it basically just allows me to kind of treat node entity reference filters and make them look the same way as term reference filters. And so I have an example, I think. So this one, yes. Okay, so so when you install it, the first thing you have to do is the view has to have a relationship to support it. So this is going to be a view of what are these? I'm sorry. These are a bunch of different content types. So basically, I'm adding a relationship that relates the entity reference field, the studies field. And then once you've added the relationship and you've installed this module, what it gives you is a filter called, it's a really long filter name, it's called Entity Reference Exposed Filter Nodes Titles. And that's the only thing this view gives you. And you won't see this unless you add the relationship first. But then once you have it, it's great. You just tell it, you give it a label. And by setting its, excuse me. Yeah, it knows, this is a little bit confusing because there's two of them on this one. But the module actually keeps track of that so that you can use multiple ones. But at the end of the day, oh, and of course this is, oh, shoot. Oh yeah, here we go. So, so topic and type are terms. And now studies, these are nodes, but that module allows me to like make them seem the same to the user basically and work. So anyway, just a cool module. And I use that everywhere. All right. Are you ready now, Tara?
I think so. Can you post a link to that module?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
No.
I'm on the right page.
And I guess it's only, I never realized this, but I don't think it is available in 7, although maybe 7 has something like that.
Hmm.
Okay, there you go. Oh, wait. Oh, I sent that to Arena for some reason. It had defaulted to Arena instead of everyone. There we go.
Okay. Get a little bit awkward with my controls when I'm dealing with connecting to my remote computer. But so anyway, so for this I work at AbTech, which is like a vocational and technical school in Alaska. And they wanted this section for like student documents. And so instead of getting that, there's a module that does all that. Trying to remember what it was called, but basically in order to not have that module that has all the documents that you can list out, I can't remember at the top of my head, in order not to do that, because my main server person was trying to limit how many modules I had. So this is actually a bunch of pages with links like stuck together. And they're all connected by multiple views. So for instance, if I go to the Office Assistant, you can see that's a bunch of links labeled as folders. If I go to any of these individual ones, I'll go to another page with actually the documents. But if I go ahead and go inside the actual view, where am I edit? You can see all the different multiple pages. And basically I was linking them all with a lot of different view areas. So a lot of Matryoshka kind of doll stuck. So for instance, this one, it goes to view area, this one of them. And you can kind of, if I pull down to the actual view, you can see that just a piece of it with the, a header, and then also footer with other pages connected to it. And pretty much all these pages are connected that way. I had to make sure everything had a distinct name. That was really, I would say, the organization's challenge, was just making sure everything had a very distinct name, so I wasn't mixing stuff up. So for instance, if I click on another one, you'll see it's also another view view area and a text area for the title. I was also using a table with just the content of folders, which that was a content type. And so that was my major Matroiska example. And I think I was about to pull up a different one if I could. Okay, so if I go to the maritime section, this one kind of also is another stacking view. Basically, you have a header with a different section, and you have other ones stacked. It's especially true if I go to the maritime class sections. So this is another, I definitely was using multiple view areas, as well as, you know, you can also do attachment view, of course. But this one you can kind of luckily picture it a little bit more. So, like I said, you can totally do a lot of Matroiska, putting views inside of views, and that's what I was kind of commenting with. I don't know if your name like Dana or Dana.
Dana, you got it.
Dana, okay. Where basically you're using the headers to organize headers and footers to organize things, and it's a way to have it so that you also have a little bit more control over the tables. I noticed the attachments, you don't have quite as much control over setting up a table that's connected. Like you can't put a title, for instance. That's why I use a lot of view areas and header footer instead of the view areas much.
That's great. That's really good, because I often do use attachments, but I know what you mean. They it's a little irritating. The markup is a little bit irritating sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of nice. So you didn't have to do a lot of styling to make those kind of fall in line, in other words.
No, yeah, basically I'm just I'm virtually stacking things within
Right.
the headers and footers.
Cool. Very neat.
And making sure that I label things so that I'm not too confused.
It's been amazing. It's been really cool to see all the creativity on display. You know, I think it's I think what we do is very creative and really neat.
So did you post the module you were using?
Which one? Oh, I did. Yeah, the entity reference exposed filters.
Okay, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's weird that it's called that. I think that title is aspirational because I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it only works with node references. But I don't know. I guess I haven't tried it with like media references, or it might work with those other things, but I don't know. Drupal being Drupal also might just work with nodes. So far. But yeah. Just haven't had that need yet. But very, very cool. Yeah, it's interesting. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
There's just one last thing to mention, since there might be people out there who will watch this and are newer maybe than we are. Excluding all your fields and using a like one rewrite to compose your data is the single most powerful thing you need to start doing with views.
Yeah.
It's really it'll hurt you until you start learning to do that.
It's true. Yeah. No, that's a really good point. That would have been a good one to demo for folks. Yeah, I'm actually thinking of all sorts of things that I could have demoed now. Maybe we should do this like every 6 months or something.
The only other thing I'll note is so I have the need to like train people who come and go throughout my group to work on views, and we've been doing that basically by trial by fire. Like, get in trouble, come ask for help, we'll work you through it, and then you learn, and that's efficient, but it's not great for disseminating information. So I am composing like some tutorials like for real basics, like how to get started with views, and of course it'll be specifically in the context of how we do stuff at UCSF, which might not be appropriate for everybody. But once that's available, which would be, I don't know, sometime before fall, I would hope, I'll make sure that that gets distributed to this group and elsewhere in case
cool.
that's handy to people.
Oh, that sounds great. That would be really good. Yeah, well, fantastic. So I can hang out for another 15 minutes, but we'll keep talking, but if people need to drop, that's totally cool too. You know, I thought, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, it looks like Rolf wants us to fill out a survey.
Oh, one question. Oh, okay. Deadline is Monday. Yes, I will fill out the survey. Module project pages under July. Oh, very cool. Thank you. Thank you, Ralph. Everyone see that in chat? You could use some feedback. Very good. Yeah, so Tara, I'm really interested in the whole full calendar thing because gosh, when was that? I want to say about, I guess it was about 5 years ago now. We had a client and they very much wanted, you know, like a calendar feeling calendar. And I actually did try to use the full calendar module, but they also really insisted on having repeating dates on the site. And at the time, I could not get that to work. So I came up with a really kind of crazy solution. And I can't really demo it right now, but what I kind of did is kind of like a headless, sort of a quasi-headless solution. So it basically just exposed all the data as an endpoint. And then I actually, you know, just used the full calendar JavaScript library and then had my own module that basically, it's been so long, I can't remember exactly how I did it, but basically I made full calendar consume the Drupal endpoint to display it on the Drupal site, which is a little nutty. And it worked, but it was a little laggy. Like you'd go to like you go to the next month and you kind of wait for a minute. Well, not a minute, but you know, you'd wait like 20 seconds to see it. Something. So I didn't love it, but it was at the time kind of like the only way I could do the repeating dates and the full calendar like together. So yeah. But I think we've come a long way since then. And I've been wanting to try to do it with just contributed things this time around. Yeah, Ralph.
But one question in regard of the performance, is it possible that it's in part was due to the date field? Because it's something on the smart date issue queue that was mentioned by Martin.
Well, that might be, but I think 5 years ago, I think I wasn't using smart date. I think I was using the what was it called? The repeating date or the recurring date module, I think.
Yeah, but the general how dates are stored in Drupal, and if the recurring date module is using the core field as smart date does, so both suffer from that performance models.
Interesting. And then I read, and I can't remember now, at the time I was just starting to learn about React, and I'm not a React developer, but I've dabbled and I'm interested. And there either was a React version of full calendar or there was something like full calendar that was in React. And I thought like, oh, that would be a fun kind of passion project, is to try to do my weird headless thing, but to reactify it. And but I never did. Maybe
I have a fun full calendar anecdote as well. I was working for the health finance group, wanted to have a calendar for all their basically financial it's an internal site. So it's like, so financial people around the institution need to know these certain dates where they need to do things or attend trainings or whatever it is. There's a lot of events on there. And they had been using our events stuff with part of our kit for a long time, but I wasn't around when that was developed and the time field was text. So, yep. Yep. So I'm like, great, we got full calendar set up, blah, blah, it's all going. And then I go to look at it and I'm like, oh, this sort is way wrong. So the solution was obviously to put in a proper date field, copy the data as best we could from the existing into the new date field. But we didn't want them to lose that like sort of archaic field. So we did the dumbest thing ever. We did a display none on the old text field on the admin screen. So the field is still there, but they can't see it. But then if we need to like reference it, we can unhide it. So dumb. But then we got them on a regular date field. And so, yeah, in the next version of that platform, obviously we'll be using proper date fields for everything. I don't know why or it was
Well,
the
you're
time
gonna-
field, sorry.
yeah.
I don't know why the time field was set to be text. The date itself was fine, but the time was text.
That's so funny. Well, David, one thing you're gonna love about Drupal 9, Drupal 10 is that you can just hide fields on the edit form without using display.
Yeah, I know, we don't have to do dumb things like that anymore. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. You know what? We should do a meetup where we just do comical, like tragic comical stories about Drupal, anecdotes, war stories. I think we've all got them.
Yeah, views, node /%. That's always good. Why'd my site disappear?
So, anybody here work with WordPress at all?
Not currently, but I did quite a bit.
So, this is a dumb question, but do they have something like Views?
I didn't have the case to dig into that when it came up. I'm sure there's probably hacky third-party things that do views-ish things.
That costs money.
Yeah, but they probably cost money. And, I mean, I think for those of us who were in WordPress support around the times, I can't remember who was, I mentioned it earlier. Yeah, I think it was Irina. Man, some of those just theme updates would like break all your stuff. That's one of the reasons I became much more of a Drupal specific person around that time, because I was operating private consultancy, and I'm the one they yell at when the site breaks. So I do know that you can do some similar data driven stuff in WordPress, but it's pretty basic. You can't do like the real advanced stuff that happens in Drupal. Actually, the other question I have is, has anyone been messing with like GraphQL type projects, like Gatsby or things like that?
Only for straight native with React, and
Yeah.
a lot. I did it with couple ways, with like a Powell GraphQL server just running within Node. And then I did it with AWS using AppSync, because it allowed me to just like each GraphQL method I end up being able to do a different Lambda function for. So I was able to go like full serverless, to do the implementation, which worked out really well, and made it really, really cheap to run the application.
Yeah, I messed around with it in the context of like, just piloting some stuff in Gatsby, or I guess I was writing like a Node app. And I don't know, for me, sometimes it's like, oh, I can just write, it helps you write the query. So it's just kind of like, oh, this is a lot faster to retrieve the information I need, rather than trying to figure out a two relationship deep ID of an item to pass through a filter.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, my brain, like I need a visual schema, I'm realizing is what I actually just need, but you actually don't want to even see that Drupal database. It's pretty nasty. So
exactly. And then with the one I was doing, I had like a bunch of different APIs that I wanted to like totally obscure. So I'm like, okay, here's a Lambda function for dealing with Flickr. Here's a Lambda function for dealing with the user information from Cognito. Here's a Lambda function for dealing with the application information. So it made it really like, I only had to authenticate them against GraphQL, and everything else got authenticated behind the scenes. And if one little thing failed, it was completely isolated from everything else. But I got enough information to know where they were coming from, with the data structure. Well, basically the path of the query. So worked out well.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks, Ralph. That addition is interesting.
I have to drop, it's kiddo bedtime, but thanks everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dana. Thanks so much. Yeah, I think I'll drop now, and I'll make the recording available on YouTube probably tomorrow, and I'll post it on the Slacks. But thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.